Awesome. So, first of all, I just wanted to say how impressed and wowed I am by all the speakers so far. It's incredible to hear your stories, and thank you for sharing them. Second of all, I just wanted to get a quick poll. How many of you are hungry right now? Raise your hands. Okay, alrighty, that sounds good. I'm not alone here. I don't have food for you, but I do have food for thought. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I know, stupid joke. But yeah, my name is Jimmy Zheng. Some of you may know me as Jay-Z. Those are my initials. I'm not the rapper. You. But yeah, I'm a third year, and I'm one of the outreach chairs for Mobile Clinic Project at UCLA, which is a student-run organization that aims to improve the health outcomes of all homeless individuals in West Hollywood and Santa Monica. Today, I'm actually going to talk about love. Not the kind that's restricted to one person or two, but open to all. It's the type that continuously inspires me to listen, to understand, and connect with others on a daily basis. This is something I think that the world desperately needs today, and today I'm going to be talking about my pursuit of this love and how it has profoundly shaped my entire worldview. But let's first start off with numbers. Numbers surround us, right? They're everywhere we see. They're in this freaking presentation. They're in textbooks, they're in novels, they're in the subjects that we study. You name it, politics, economy, mathematics, sciences, statistics. They're everywhere. But most importantly, numbers are a tool by which we evaluate situations and, unfortunately, by which we judge other people. But what do they really mean? What is the depth that is contained within these figures? Well, to be honest, I never really questioned the significance of numbers, right? In high school, we all were slaving away just to remember these numbers to ace the next exam. And in reality, nothing has changed in college. But for me, during my second year, which is the first year that I entered Mobile Clinic Project, I was bombarded by a series of numbers that I could not ignore. And I had to confront them personally. I want to share them with you today. 58,423. 9% and 50%. 33% to 50%. Now, if you read what was on those slides, you think that something's disproportionate. I want to pose a question to each and every one of you. What does it actually mean? See, for me, when I read these, I felt like there was a brick wall between me and the meaning behind these numbers. I couldn't understand the pain or the struggle associated with them. And instead of delving deeper into my craft, I stepped away. And for an entire summer, this past summer, I decided to stop my work on the streets for a good 2 months. And that period was the worst time of my life. I felt empty, lonely. I felt as if I had no direction whatsoever. As if the road I was walking on suddenly stopped, and there weren't any signs to guide me out. It took 6 long weeks this summer for me to realize that the only sign I needed was a sign pointing back to the streets. Trust me, I was in bed a lot. And in that solitude, I realized that I still loved the work that I previously did. And that was something that pulled me back into the game. The work that I did was connecting with clients every Wednesday night at clinic on the corner of Sycamore and Romaine. In fact, as I speak right now, my fellow caseworkers are out there 15 miles away serving our homeless clients. And so after that severely low point in my life, I realized that I needed to get back. I needed to change something. And so I wanted to take my work to the next level. But how? Wrapped in my blankets, I thought about it. At clinic, we quite literally wait for homeless clients who come to us so we can serve them. Why not bridge that gap? Why not go to where they stay, the streets on which they live, sleep, and dream? And so I did. I connected the dots in my mind. In order to serve the homeless, we have to go to the homeless. And in order to understand these numbers, we have to paint stories around them, or at least find stories. And so I created a project. I called it Street Outreach. It is what it is. We went out on the streets, reached out to homeless people, and forged friendships, built trust. This was our map. You can see our clinic by the red pin on the corner of Sycamore and Romaine. And with 4 weeks of street outreach, I, along with 6 other compassionate and passionate undergraduate student leaders, we ventured out into the streets. We went about 7 to 8 blocks away from our clinic and explored the areas beyond that range. And these are the friends we've made. I want to tell you that numbers have meaning, but that meaning is contained within stories. And so, when I hear that 58,423 people are homeless on any given night in Los Angeles, I think of John. John was the first guy we met, first day of street outreach. He had his shirt taken off, and I could see tattoos all over his chest. And we actually talked for 2 hours. He told me he was 52 years old. He spent 38 years in prison. You can do the math. What could have possibly gone on in the mind of a 14-year-old boy as he went behind bars? But despite his pain and struggle, he still maintained the kindest spirit. Sure, he was frustrated. He called the system a system of revolving doors, bouncing human beings back between streets, the hospitals, and prison. But no matter who came by, who passed his cross, or who crossed his path, he always maintained his composure, always saying, "God bless you. Have a wonderful day, man." Most often, people don't even respond. In fact, he did this to every single person, even the popo. In fact, 5 police officers and security officers came by. They stalled on the streets, stared at us from a distance, suspecting something was up. That was when I couldn't handle it. It was the most infuriating experience of my life. Imagine, how could any person judge another person's character just because they think that that person is one of 52,423? That's ridiculous. When I hear that 9% of the LA population and 50% of the LA homeless population is African American, I think of Tim and Doug. And to be honest, Tim and Doug were the homies. We found them chilling under a tree under the rain the second time we went out. And it was on the corner of Waring and Cole. Yeah, I mean, sure, they had a couple of beers, a little bit drunk, or very drunk, but that was okay, you know? That was okay. We talked to them for 2 hours still. And I'll tell you what, Tim was the most curious guy in the world. He asked about everything medically related, from HIV to leukemia to cancer. I didn't even know some of the stuff that he talked about. And that was kind of embarrassing. And Doug, he was fascinated by philosophy. He asked about tons of things, religiously based, philosophy based. He asked about the Bible. He asked about Einstein quotes. It was crazy. But what stands out to me about these two people the most, it's not their race, it's not the fact that they're African American. It's the fact that Timothy is actually not homeless at all. He lives with his sister. He has multiple jobs that he cycles around. So why does he choose to be on the streets? Because of Doug. Doug is his best friend, 15 years older, jobless and homeless. And so Tim quite literally chooses to live on the streets so he can split the burden with Doug. That's a testament to their friendship. And it's a display of profound brotherhood that I have never seen in my life before. But I guess I found it on the streets. When I see 33% to 50% of the homeless population is female, I cannot help but think of Mike and Michelle. Now Mike is a very well-tempered guy, very chill. We went up to him on the 4th time we went out. And we talked a little bit. He was very frustrated. Both of these people are highly functioning people. They are just one step away from housing, but that one step has rolls and rolls of red tape involved in it. In fact, to get housing, they would have to take at least 1.5 years to even get an application through. It's messed up. But the thing about Mike that stood out to me was that, well, first of all, Mike and Michelle are married. They've been on the streets for 8 years together. And they haven't found a stable home, so they live across from the DMV. But every time Mike leaves to go to the grocery store, get some fruits, to go find a job in West Hollywood, he's scared, and he's told me that. He's scared. Sure, scared for the future, but mostly scared for Michelle, because the moment he leaves his camp, he's scared that someone might just come by, come around the corner of the block, peek in the tent, and rape Michelle. And unfortunately, I died inside when he said that that has happened multiple times. Imagine your loved ones having to face that same fate just because you're trying to make their lives better. That's Mike and Michelle out there. And that's my awkward selfie. You can see Michelle crying a little bit. She teared up because she was telling us how hard it was on the streets. Life is a struggle as a homeless person. But do remember that numbers don't tell the entire story. A lot of numbers only tell half of it. And what we found is that some of our homeless neighbors are completely self-sustaining. When I say that, I talk about Farmer Mike. Farmer Mike is a Romanian immigrant. He's been in the same damn spot for 8 years. And it's amazing, because he is the most resilient man I've ever met. He's told me that many times people have come to him offering him crack cocaine, meth, other hard drugs. And every single time, he's responded by saying, "Get that shit away from me and leave me alone." Every single time. Why? It's because he doesn't go with that scene. That's not his line of work. His line of work is being a farmer. He makes his own food. He buys his own medication. He has his own van, a blue van. And while I didn't get a chance to see his garden, or take a picture of his garden, I did try to find it on Google Maps afterwards. Kind of creepy. But you see his blue van in the right side? That's his garden. Isn't that amazing? The people who owned that block right there allowed him to transform a city sidewalk grass area into a garden where he plants persimmons, foxglove flowers, and delphinium flowers. Oh, and I forgot to mention, he also has a wonderful dog named Flower. That, and his garden, is why we call him Farmer Mike. So through 4 weeks of doing this street outreach thing, I've realized that we are the same. We have the same emotions, the same dreams, the same visions. I started this talk off by mentioning love, right? Do you see what I mean by saying this is love? You see, love is a deep connection between others, forged by happiness, struggle, hope, and pain. It's the realization that we are all human beings. And because of that, we can laugh about our struggles. And of course, you know that love is something that bridges us all. And I want to point out that if there's one thing that I've learned from street outreach, it's that we are not alone. And despite the 6-week period of emptiness that I had to battle, I was never really alone during that period of time. If you ever feel that way, I want you to reach out. I want you to listen to others. I want you to understand a stranger. Do not underestimate the power of saying, "Hi, can you tell me more about yourself? I'm interested in your story." That actually makes all of the difference. It'll help you break your brick wall that separates you from the meaning behind the numbers in your life. That is what I mean by true love. And as you are pursuing this love, take a lesson from some of my homeless friends. Always be kind, just like John. Forge meaningful friendships that validate your presence in their lives, just like Tim and Doug. Do not be afraid of being scared, because everyone is. Just ask Mike and Michelle. And I guarantee you, if you follow these 3 rules, eventually you will be a very content and happy person. Just look at Farmer Mike. I want to share a quote with y'all to end this off. Homeboy Industries once said, "You must stand in awe at what people have to carry, rather than stand in judgment at how they carry it. Understand others' struggles, and you will begin to find your own direction in life. You will never be lost." These are just some of the pictures of my friends I've made in the past 2 years of being a mobile clinic project. Listen, these are 9 pictures, but 9, to me, that number means everything. Thanks for listening.